Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to my online class, my dear pupils and viewers. Hope you are well by the grace of the Almighty Allah. I am also well by the Almighty Allah. Stay home, stay safe, my dear students. Today I will discuss on voice, especially on two objects, voice on voice with two objects. Please look at the board, please. When we make any active voice into passive voice, when we find two objects, I mean indirect object and direct object in a sentence, we make an active voice into passive in such a way. We at first we know we detect the subject, the verb, the indirect object and direct object. When we question any verb, we find the subject by who or what. He teaches us English. Teaches. When we do anything or being anything or having anything that is verb, so uh, when we make question the verb by what or who teaches, he teaches, so he is the subject of this sentence. When we make question to the subject, um, what he do, um, what he does, he does teaching, so this is the verb of this sentence. Then we make question the main verb by who, whom, or which. He teaches home, he teaches home, us. So it is the indirect object. He teaches, which he teaches, that is the English. So English is the direct object. There are two objects in this single sentence. So according to the rules, when we find double objects in a single sentence in active voice, when we make from active to passive, we normally bring the indirect object into subject, into passive voice. In passive voice, when so we make us object into subject into subject in the passive voice. So when we make us the object us in the subject of passive voice, it will be we. He teaches, he third person singular, so the main verb teach takes yes. So it is a present indefinite tense. The sentence is in present indefinite tense, in the present indefinite tense. So we know in present indefinite tense in passive voice, we take am, h, r as be verbs or auxiliary verbs. So we are plural, we is plural, so we take are be verb with we. We take be verb according to the number and person of the subject and according to the tense of this sentence. And then we make the main verb into past participle, it is thought. And we keep the direct object at his place, and then we bring by preposition. In most cases we bring by preposition or another preposition and make the original subject from active voice, the original subject into object of by preposition. We make the original subject he, he into object of by preposition. So he will be object, objective case, and he will be him, and it is the object of by preposition. And another rule is when we make the direct object of an active voice into passive voice, we bring it uh, we uh, we bring the direct object into passive voice. English is the direct object here into active in active voice, so we make the direct object English and the subject of passive voice English, and it is present indefinite tense, so the subject English is third person singular, so we bring is, because we know in passive voice in present indefinite tense we bring be verb, am, is, are as auxiliary verbs, and is used with only third person singular. English is third person singular, so we have used is be verb as auxiliary verb, and then we make the main verb into first participle. And but in the passive voice we use to or by to for recipient. To we use to for recipient before recipient, and for beneficiary. So we use to before this indirect object us, and then we bring by preposition in most cases, and the original subject of active voice will be object of by preposition in the passive voice. So he will be him, and it is the object of by preposition. When we apply opposite rules, we easily can make passive voice into active. Please look at the board. We know when any subject can do the action of the verb, that is the original subject, and it is in active voice. But when we find the subject cannot do the work of the main verb, so the subject is not original subject. It was object in the active voice, and it became the subject in the passive voice. It is not original subject, so it cannot do the action of the main verb. Here, look at here. We are taught. We cannot do the work of teaching. So we was the object of in active voice. So it is a passive voice. We find the subject cannot. So the subject is not original subject. It was object. It was an object and became subject in passive voice, and cannot do the action of the main verb. And after the subject there are be verbs and be verb or verbs, and after that the past participle of main verb. So it is a passive voice. So we know in the passive voice the original subject is remaining after by preposition or other prepositions. So him is the original subject of active voice. So when we make him the object of by preposition in passive voice, we take this object as subject in the active voice. So it will be he. Him will be he in the active voice subject. And when we notice there are am, is, are, be verb or auxiliary verbs, that is present indefinite tense. So we take the present form of thought, I mean teach, and he third person singular, and so teach takes yes, and then we use the subject as objects in an active voice. So we the word we, the subject we will be object of the main verb teach. So we will be us, and then we use a direct object, because normally we use at first the direct object, and after the direct object we at first indirect object, and after the indirect object we use the direct object. In this way we can make a passive voice into active voice. There are another rule, please. We know in the passive voice, after by preposition, or in most cases after the by preposition or other preposition, the original subject is remaining as the object of by preposition or other preposition. So him is here, or the original subject of active voice. So we take him as subject in the active voice. Him will be he. And when we notice that is there are am, is, are, be verb, so it is present and definite tense, we take the main verb of taught, the present from teach. He third person singular, so the main verb teach takes es, and then we remove to preposition and take as object after main verb teach, and then we use the subject of the passive voice as the object of main verb after indirect object. English, we take English the direct object of main verb is. So at first we use indirect object, and after indirect object we use direct object. In this way we can make from active voice to passive voice to active voice by applying opposite or vice versa rules. Another example, father bought me a shirt. Father, who bought? Father bought. So father is the subject here, because we make question of the main verb by who or what. Father, what does father do? Father bought. Father bought. So bought is the main verb. Father bought home, me. So me is the indirect object, and father bought which? A shirt. It is the direct object of this active voice. And so when we find double objects in a single sentence, we normally take the indirect object. I mean, in the first place, which object is remains the object as subject in the passive voice. So me will be subject in the passive voice, I, and it is past and definite tense. So there will come was or where, and was is used in the past tense with all third persons, all singular number. So we have used was as auxiliary verb and be verb. It is the be verb. I was, and we take past participle of main verb by both. And then we use the direct object after the past participle of main verb, and then we take according to the rules by preposition or other preposition, and make the original subject of active voice as the object of by preposition or other prepositions. And when we make the direct object into a subject of passive voice, then there comes some exceptions. We must remember. For recipient, we use two preposition before indirect object into passive voice, but for beneficiary, we take for preposition before indirect object in the passive voice. A shirt is the direct object of active voice. So we take the object into subject as subject in the passive voice. A shirt is the subject here in the passive voice. And it is past and definite tense, so a shirt is third person singular, and we use was in the past tense for all singular number. We take was the be verb as the auxiliary verb here, and after that we take the past participle of main verb by both, and there are the indirect object. So indirect object me is the beneficiary, so we take for before the indirect object for me, and then we take by preposition or other preposition according to the rules, and make the original subject of active voice the object of the by preposition or other preposition. In the same way, we can change from active to passive voice, and if we apply the opposite or vice versa rules, we can easily make passive voice into an active voice. Please look at the board. We know I is the subject here, and I was both. I cannot do the action of buying, so I is not original subject here. It was object and in the active voice, and it is the subject of passive voice. And after the subject there is auxiliary verb or verbs, and then after that the first participle from of main verb, so it is passive voice. And in the passive voice we know after by preposition or other preposition according to the rules, there is the original subject. So father is the original subject here. We take father, the object of the by preposition into the active voice, and take it as subject, father subject. And when we see there are was or were, there is was or were, it is the past and definite tense, so we take the first form of main verb by both, father both, and we use the subject of passive voice as the object of main verb in the active voice. So I, the subject, the word I means the subject of passive voice, will be the object of main verb in the active voice by both. I will be me here, and me is the direct object of the main verb both. And then we use the direct object. Normally we use at first indirect object, and after indirect object we use the direct object. In this way we can make a passive voice into an active voice. In the another rule, we know father is the original subject. We make the object father, the word father of the object of by preposition into in the as subject of in the active voice. We take the object of by preposition father as the subject in the active voice, father, and there is was be verb or be verb, so it is past and definite tense. So we take the first form of the main verb both by both. So subject first form of main verb, and then we remove for preposition before me, I mean the indirect object, and me will be used after the main verb as indirect object, and then we make the subject of the passive voice as the direct object in the active voice after the indirect object. Me, after me, I mean after here, after me, father bought me a shirt. My dear pupils, In this way, we can make easily from active to passive to active. No more today. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. Amin Khan's method. No more today. Good night.